Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at a very powerful move that I see a lot of good ball strikers make in the starts of the downswing. The move itself is also very helpful in creating a good delivery position, getting the hands, the club in a good position, moving into impact. Thanks once again for joining me. So today we're looking at the starts of the downswing again. So let's just say it's transition. And let's just go over a couple of things that we'd want to see in transition to help us to achieve good ball striking. Okay, so from the top of the backswing, moving into transition, we're going to want to see the pelvis move earlier than the other segments. So the first segment to move is going to be the pelvis. While the pelvis is moving, in relation to the upper body, we're going to be creating a stretch there. So the transition phase often can be referred to as the counter rotation phase. That's where some segments are moving in one direction while other segments are moving in another. So essentially, while, let's just say, the arms and the club are completing the backswing, the pelvis is starting to move towards the target. And just these, as simple as these things sound, the better that players can often get at some of these transition cues, really help a player to just perform better, be more dynamic, and get the arms and the club into a better position at the start of the downswing, which is something we're looking at today. So aside from just the sequence of the pelvis moving first and the rib cage moving slightly after the pelvis there, and us creating the stretch, there's also a slight compression between the pelvis and the rib cage. And this isn't all the way through the full length of transition, but moving into the start of the downswing, this is the focus that I wanted to touch upon today, is that as we're moving into the start of the downswing, as the lead hip starts to push up, the pelvis starts to elevate while the rib cage is still moving slightly down. So you get that internal compression. The pelvis is moving up while the rib cage is moving down, and that creates an opportunity for us to create a little bit more club head speed, but at the same time sets us up for creating a nice amount of space. So if I just go down the line here, if I go to the top and I'm like moving my pelvis towards the target by pushing off my trail forward, my lead hip is elevated while my rib cage is staying more down. And when I do that, it creates a lot of room for my hands, the club, and my arms there. So that's what I was referring to. It can really help with the delivery position. In doing that, it helps create a lot of space, a lot of room for the arms there. So from face on, I want to be quite precise with the rib cage position here for you. So if I just grab another club here, if I get into a setup position, I have a slight flare in my trail foot, as most players would probably do well having. But if for some reason your trail foot is better positioned another way, all I'm going to get you to do is, if you go square with your trail foot and then turn it out, let's just say one golf ball with the big toe, and then all I'm going to get you to do is to put that club just kind of lined up with your foot flare there. So as the pelvis is moving towards the target, it's elevating, I'm going to feel as though I'm keeping my sternum lined up with this club here, my spine almost lined up with this club here, until about hands over, let's say halfway through downswing, right around here. So in doing that, because I'm pushing off my trail foot to elevate the lead hip and get it to clear, while I'm trying to keep the spine almost over here, the sternum, I feel like my sternum is pretty much pointed at the club head there. Because I'm trying to do that, I'm creating a really nice stretch, and I've got lots and lots of room here. And if you were to think of a med ball throw, so if I just move this club for a second here, if you were to think of a med ball throw, if I was to start here, as I'm like going this way, I'd be very similar. It'd be like this if I wanted to create power, because I want to create that stretch across the lead side, that stretch between the pelvis and the rib cage, before I throw the ball, so that I've just got more speed there, more power that I can utilize for the throw. So a very similar concept here with a golf shot. So today, the focus that I want you to take away is that we're going to be pushing up the trail foot, something we covered before in previous videos, to get the pelvis to move. But we really want the sternum staying right around here, at that point where the club head was, to about halfway through downswing. And it should feel as though, like I said, I can actually feel that internal compression. The pelvis is being pushed up by pushing up that lead side, while I'm trying to keep the sternum almost more down, more over the ball there. So that's that's what I would work upon there. And these things can be tricky to work on when you work on a particular spot in the golf swing. I find that a lot of players can get caught up on achieving that spot in time in the golf swing and then kind of get disconnected from it's an actual swing. So when you're training it, you have to go slowly through that spot, but be mindful of, okay, how does this fit into a full swing here? So let's have a look at how I would typically go about that now with a player. So if I was going to the top of backswing and I was working on that, like I'd be really having a sense of like when you're pushing the lower body, pushing the pelvis forward, you can sense that separation, but more here, just feeling like you're gonna feel quite behind the ball if you're not used to doing this. If you're a player, especially if you're a player that has a pattern of being forward and up this way, it's gonna be a very different position to be in. You're gonna feel as though it's gonna be very easy to hit the ground behind it. So you're gonna have to get to this position and then slowly rehearse how you would use your body then into impact. So you're gonna have to get that awareness of like, okay, and one, not just how to get there, but two, how to incorporate that into and move into impact and through the shot. And that's where things can get really tricky for players, because they feel as though, okay, if I get there, the swing is going to be good. And it's not always the case. You have to have that connection of like, okay, we're actually in a different spot here now. How are we going to, like, what do I need to do to get the club on the ball from there? And you're going to have to really slow down, because it would have been a different movement in the past, because you would have been in a very different position. So if just internally you're not aware of what you need to do now, you're probably not going to see good golf shots. So the way that I would work on this is, and I do this a lot myself because this is a really important phase of the golf in the transition. It's something that we've seen a lot of good players, that elevation of the pelvis while the rib cage is moving down. So I work on this a lot myself, and the way that I always go to so that I can feel it is the slow backswing, the feeling like I'm pushing the pelvis forward. It actually feels like my pelvis is closer to the target than my rib cage here, and I'll actually get down to about like right around here. I'm feeling it nice and slow, and from there I'm literally going to use my body and just chip some shots down the range. And this is where the deliberate practice comes in, because it actually requires a lot of patience to hit, say, 20 golf balls like that. It can take 20 minutes. But then when you start to add the speed, which a lot of players start to speed up too soon as well, but start to add a little bit of speed, maybe you go and hit some pitch shots, some wedge shots, just to kind of allow yourself to grow at a nice slow pace, keep things slow. You've got more of a chance of integrating and move like that into your golf swing, because it is just tricky. When you're working on transition, you're going to have to slow it down. You're going to have to also have an understanding of what through backswing might not be helping you to move that way if you're finding it a challenge.